All right, episode 4, brainstorming video ideas. So
Live.
this live, yeah, scary. This is really scary. Um, I mean, we would come up with video ideas from everywhere, really. I mean, it was always just kind of different cases that came up or comments that people had or video testimony, feedback. But I guess maybe we can just talk about if somebody's starting out from scratch and they really just don't know what to talk about on video, what are some easy ways that you can mine what's going on in your office right now and talk about on video?
That's one of the things when you think about trying to come up with different video ideas. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? There's really nothing to say. I'm just going to talk about myself. But you really got to think about what people would want to hear and what's going to translate best to somebody, whoever's watching this, whether you're doing a live video like this or you're doing, creating content for YouTube. And one of the ways that we found is most effective is find out what questions people are asking and turning those into video topics. So, how much is my case worth? Probably the single most asked question ever. So that's one of the things where when somebody's typing in Google, how much is my case worth, personal injury attorney, or whatever it may be, that's also a good way to pull some SEO by using that, actually the question in your title of your video. So, and then, obviously there is no clear-cut answer to that question, but I think using it as leverage of, again, finding out what people are looking for and then giving them an answer.
Exactly. And what do you feel is the best? I mean, I know that we used to keep track of so many different web stats all the time. I mean, through Moz, through Google Analytics, there was like SEMrush. There were just always little places that we would check to see what people are searching for and what pages were visited the most. Google Analytics is really just, Google Analytics is probably the best place to start, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you can break down again what people are asking, what they're searching for to get to those pages, how are they finding you? And then you can almost start building on that database of stuff that you already have on your website to make it better.
I think another way that it's easy to figure out frequently asked questions is to keep track of all the different questions that are asked in the initial client meeting, right? So so many of these attorneys have been doing it for so long that it's kind of second nature for them to go through the first client meeting because it's the same type of cases that they always handle. They're probably used to hearing the same questions over and over. So they could either think back to most of the client meetings that they have, or maybe start making a concerted effort to write down those questions in each meeting and keep a running list. I know that you and I used to keep, it was almost like a wish list or a cheat sheet of topics that, every time we needed a new video, what's next on the list? What's next on the list?
Yeah, and you can kind of order those in priority wise of, hey, what's going to make most sense to do first, and then maybe we can group these together and create a playlist. Playlists are also another good way of grouping everything together. Maybe it's we had a FAQ playlist, so it was all the frequently asked questions and they were all in one place. So a quick 60-second 2-minute video, getting straight to the point, answering that question and not dragging it on for 20 minutes and not really answering the question for them. People are looking for an answer. And if you can kind of become that resource, a place to people to go and find out more information about what they're currently going through, they're going to spend a lot of time on your website if you use playlists and kind of build that database.
And don't you feel, you had mentioned this, not running on for 20 minutes before giving them an answer. So it's okay. It seems a little backwards to state what the question is and then answer it right away, because normally when you're writing something, there has to be an introduction and that you kind of talk about, this and that before you get to the meat of the answer. But for videos, it's like, just answer the question and then elaborate. And if people want to stay on and be more engaged, then come up with interesting backup points to your answer.
Exactly. And another place too is people are commenting on those YouTube videos. And if they need more information, maybe they'll put that in the comments and we'll give you an idea for a follow-up video for that. And you can include cards and clickable links for people to click on within your video to say, hey, here's some more information regarding this topic, and kind of direct them somewhere else. You want to kind of, once they're watching one video, YouTube's going to suggest another one to watch. So if you have that kind of playlist system, it's just going to keep rolling down the list of, hopefully answering all the questions they're looking for.
And it's even okay to dial in your playlists as specific as, okay, frequently asked questions for car accidents, frequently asked questions for work injuries, frequently asked questions for divorce without children, so it's okay to do that, right?
It is. And being more specific sometimes is better too, because again, people are searching for something on Google, and the more specific you can be to better match their question, you're going to start ranking higher in Google search. Just by the way that you title your videos, what's in your description. You can actually turn your video transcript into a description of your video. So that way it's in the video, but it's also in text form. So if somebody is not able to watch the video, they can just, scroll through and basically read what it's all about, save it for later, whatever it may be. You're still delivering, that content they're looking for. You're still answering their question.
Exactly. And even, one easy shortcut too is just look at all the content that's already on your website. Whether you guys build your website yourself and add all the content, or if you have a company do it, like Blue Shark, where a lot of times Blue Shark, their secret sauce to getting great content is to interview all the attorneys in the office and just say, like, give me in half an hour, give me an hour on this topic. And then they transcribe that and turn that into web content. So there's no reason that you can't take those same pages and say, okay, well, let's make a 30-second video about it, or a 2-minute video about it, or, whatever it may be. It's right there already on your site.
Right. And it's something that can be constantly working for you. You can only answer a question at a time in person in real life. But if you have a video that's out there, multiple people can watch it at the same time, and it's something that's going to be relevant for a while. So yeah, investing, 20 minutes to put together a short video, it may seem like, oh my gosh, I got to sit down and do this again. But once you have it out and ready, I think you're going to understand that it's working in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. And another way to get your staff involved is to talk to them. They are the ones who have boots on the ground. They're talking about medical treatment. They're talking about discovery responses. They're talking about, even everything from the initial intake. It's talk to them and say, hey, what are people talking about when they call? What are their biggest fears? What are their biggest worries? And you can literally take their answers and just turn it into, hey, we see clients all the time who are worried about how they're going to pay their bills, even though they're not able to work, as an example, right? So just take all the things that the clients are stressing out about and turn that into a video too. And it'll give you the opportunity to kind of sneak in some legal jargon while you're also talking about the emotion of what, people are feeling.
Yeah. And again, if you're turning into like a story type thing, people love stories. It's just human nature that we all enjoy stories. And every single case that comes into your office is a story. It may be another dog bite or whatever it is, but there's something about that that makes it different from the last one. So kind of honing in on that and using it as, fuel for your video, even just sharing maybe some of the struggles that you went through as an attorney, working on this case. I've never had to do this before, or, something that maybe stood out to you that you can talk about that, there may not be any other content on YouTube about that because this is the only case that has happened. So
True.
using that kind of stuff to your advantage too.
And when you do frequently asked questions, when you do videos of any kind, using specific examples from your own experience is a form of storytelling in itself, because you really are just telling the story about current or past clients that you had. And so instead of just simply answering the question, matching it with a real world example that people can kind of understand more, or maybe see themselves in that person's shoes, then they're more likely to be like, oh, okay, well, this guy really does know what he's talking about because he just helped someone just like me, 2 weeks ago or however long ago it was.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also offers the opportunity to go more in depth with that in the future if you choose to. Once the case settles, you revisit that. And, you know, depending on if you do other stuff like mediation videos with them, but turning that into, you know, that story into like this testimonial video. Again, sharing what was unique about this, what did they go through with the struggles, and then, you know, overcoming all those throughout the case. And then again, from the attorney side, what were those struggles and stuff that you kind of faced, and kind of do this back and forth type of testimonial that, you know, they're really powerful. And again, you've got all these stories that are just pretty much there. It's just got to change the way that you look at them.
Mitch Jackson from Legal Minds is really great at doing this. He likes to newsjack. So maybe give us a couple of pointers on if you see something that is applicable to your firm, you know, or a case that you really think that you would love to have after something newsworthy happens. You know, we were always scouring the news to see what was out there and what we could do a video on. But maybe speak to that a little bit.
So, I mean, always having news coverage in any sort of way is going to be beneficial for you. But we found ways to do things in the community to kind of get news attention, you know, to kind of, you know, anybody can talk about themselves, but if somebody else is talking about you, it means so much more. But yeah, I mean, the news is something that every day they're doing the same thing. What video topics are we going to cover? What stories are out there? What are we going to go after? And you can tell by just looking on Facebook of, you know, the local news here, what's popular right now, what's trending, what are people talking about, and it may give you an opportunity to use that kind of in your own avenue of legal marketing, and how can you relate to that subject that everyone's talking about.
And I think, I mean, there were even times when something, you know, maybe a big car crash came up, or there was, you know, some sort of serious injury, and we would even just hurry up and create a video like, if you are hit on I-75 by an 18-wheelers, here's what you need to do. And not necessarily doing a video like, oh, we feel so bad for the people that were injured in this accident, because that kind of looks a little ambulance chasey, but it's pretending like you are speaking to the person who's injured and saying like, look, if you are ever in this situation, here's what you do. And the newscasters just love that kind of stuff, because you're giving them a free legal perspective that they don't have to go out and search for.
Exactly. And it's probably not going to be the last time that happens too. So again, you have this content that's out there, it's working for you at all the time. And it's, again, specific. So if somebody's searching for that, this person that was just in this accident on 75 by an 18-wheeler may be searching, you know, their legal rights in the situation. So, you know, you've got exactly what they're looking for.
And, you know, too, I just kind of thought about this, but video might be also a great way to get, you know, when somebody calls in and they have an issue that you don't handle, or maybe perhaps it's like a toxic mold case, right? And you're not going to be able to help them unless X, Y, and Z has already happened. They still live there. There's, you know, they've had mold tests done. They have a positive diagnosis of damage, you know, different qualifiers. Instead of being on the phone with that person for so long during intake, if you create a video about, hey, in order for you to have a successful mold case, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Your intake person's on the phone with this, you know, this potential client. You're like, you know, you show them the compassion, you show them the empathy, and just say, you know, right, I think that once you go through this certain process, then feel free to give us a call back. You send them a link to that video. They know all the things that they need to do, and then they can reach back out to you, instead of them spending so much time on the phone, you know, kind of tying up the line until you can get to somebody else. That might be another, you know, if you have a lot of calls about something that you don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on, like manpower time, create one video and send it to all the different people that call about that issue. Even though you don't take the case, you know, you might not take those cases, it could be a time saver.
Yeah, all that time certainly adds up if you're doing that multiple times a week, a day, whatever it may be. And that's another reason why we created those intake videos, was to kind of streamline that process. It was the same thing for every that came in. We explain the process you can expect. So instead of saying that 10-minute spiel, 6 times a day, you just saved yourself an hour by creating this video that you're using. And then, they're like, wow, this is really cool. You have a TV in your conference room. Like, so they're kind of, feeling this different level of service as well.
Right.
You guys are also saving time in the meantime. So there's so many different video topics out there, and it's really figuring out what's going to work for you the best.
And we even burned that intake video onto a CD or DVD rather.
Yeah,
and we just
put it in there and just
played it. And it was easy. It was like, welcome to the firm. We're happy that you're here. Here's what the process is going to be like. So technically, you could go through every stage of the case. Just look at the complete life cycle of the case. And any time that you would have a human being call and prep somebody, okay, you're going to get discovery in the mail and you're going to have to answer these questions. Make sure you do these 10 things when you're answering them. Create a video and send that off every time the case, needs it.
Right.
And if there's different instruction.
There's no secret that video is a powerful tool and everyone's using it. And so I always get ideas from places that I would never really even expect to get inspiration from. Like we just refinanced our house. And so the mortgage company we used had video series that they created. And every step of the way, they would send us an email and say, congratulations, you are now at this milestone. And there was a little, 60-second animation video explaining exactly, what you can expect. There may be some downfalls, so don't go spending all your money and, taking out credit, whatever. But it was really cool because, again, it was straight to the point. It was something that it was consistent all the way through. So it's like, you finally got to the end. It's like, wow, I understand what just happened to me through this whole process. And now I got a different, kind of feeling about that company because I'm like, oh, I feel really informed.
Right.
But you can use those ideas and implement them, in a legal term to pretty much any different case or any situation that they're going to go through.
But it was empowering for you, I bet. Even to have the little thing that's like, congratulations, you got this next step done. You had to do it anyway, right? But you still got this like, oh, that was nice. They made me feel great about it.
But an email where they text out, four paragraphs, like reading it, it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm in the discovery phase. But watching the video, it's like, ooh, I'm in the discovery phase.
Right.
I was excited about it. It was something new, and I moved on to the next step. So, yeah, you can find inspiration anywhere, and everyone's using video, so you can get ideas anywhere you look.
I mean, especially think about it. How many times do you have to do, like, even doing stuff around the house? I remember I had to write scripts for Lazy Boy on how to put together their recliners. You can read through the instruction manual, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to YouTube and say, okay, right. What I would like to refinish our cutting board. So what did I do last night on YouTube? How to refinish a wooden cutting board. I'm not going to read about it. I want to watch a video on exactly how to do it. So I can pause it and listen and watch. And yeah, it's just more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are visual learners. I am. I can digest the information so much better if I see it rather than reading it and try to understand what's happening. A lot of people are that way. And especially now with, attention spans are really declining. So again, getting straight to the point with whatever video topic you are on, I think that's the most important thing in, the social media world, to where you want to get your information out there, but you don't want it to drag on forever.
And when in doubt, just do it. Even if it's something that you're like, oh, are people going to be interested in this? Even if you don't have hundreds of people watching the video, it's still going to help you for SEO purposes, because that information is going to be connected to your firm, and it's going to be out there in Google land, and people are going to it'll help people find your website.
Right. And when that one case comes along, when they're looking for a wrongful death attorney, and you've got all these videos talking about everything, it's like, wow, they really know their stuff. I'm gonna go with them. And it may not be worth it right now, but once that case comes along, it's obviously gonna make all the difference then.
Exactly. One final tip is to talk to your clients too. Ask as the case case wraps up, or even if you have a client come in to fill out discovery, or whatever stage they're in, say what types of things would help you understand everything a little bit more, and pick their brains, see what would help them. They'd probably be a wealth of knowledge too. see if we
Yeah,
have
even
any.
like also we would ask, you know, when you were looking for an attorney, what were your deciding factors, or what made you choose us? You know, in kind of this testimonial type video, asking those types of questions. It's like, okay, well, they chose us because of this. So let's really, you know, accelerate here, but you know, maybe the parts what we're lacking on a little bit, we can focus on a little bit more. But you know, again, asking your clients will give you so much content to work with.
And you can even turn it around. Here are the 3 reasons why this client hired us. Okay, well, when you're looking, you can turn that into a video of when you're looking for an attorney, make sure that the person that you ultimately hire has these 3 characteristics, you know, and here's why it's important. You can, even though you might have already done a video on why that person hired you because of X, Y, and Z, you can make a second one by just tweaking it a little bit and for the general public and say, hey, make sure to look out for these different types of things. So you can do it as a testimonial and as a tip for strangers.
10 reasons to hire this attorney, or 10 reasons, you know, 10 red flags, or whatever it may be. You can turn it both ways, do the opposite. But, you know, again, thinking about right now, is there any video topics that we can do? The list is probably pretty short, but actually once you sit down and start going through, it's like, wow, we could talk about this 15 different ways. You know, you can really build this list. Like you said, we had this wish list that we prioritized. When we had extra time, we would focus on that. If there was something we really wanted to push, we would focus on that area. So, and just keeping a list of things that you want to talk about and eventually do is so helpful.
And there was one other thing that I was thinking about, and it just lost me. It's quarantine time in case somebody's watching this 2 years from now, and my son was knocking at the window, and I'm like, okay, I can't talk to you right now. So I lost my train of thought. But your staff. Even if you have a staff member who's okay talking in front of the camera and who is, you know, well-spoken enough and enjoys doing it, utilize them. Even if it's somebody who's not in the marketing department or somebody who, you know, that's not their job, is to make videos. If they are knowledgeable and they have all these connections to the clients anyway, and they have, you know, something to say that would really help potential clients, put them in front of the camera, especially if they're willing to. I mean, it's one more place, and it'll take a little bit of stress off of your own shoulders, because it's hard enough to carve out time to do legal stuff, let alone marketing stuff. But if you have it, don't hesitate to ask your staff, because they are a wealth of knowledge, and it'll make them feel good too that they're involved.
Yeah, and it gives your clients a perspective that maybe, you know, you don't have, or you know, them seeing this experience through their own eyes. Even just maybe having a 15-minute meeting with your staff and saying, hey, what are some questions that you all have had in the last month? What are some problems that people are going through? You know, what can we do to help them? And you'd probably be surprised of, you know, how
Answers.
much grow. Yeah.
Especially intake, and for those firms that have more than one intake person, you know, encourage them to write down all of their questions and submit them once a week or at the end of the day or whatever it is, because, you know, they get questions all day long. And even just keeping a running tally, like how we used to keep a list, or just a running list, it's easy content that you can create right off the bat.
Right. And you can shoot 20 of them at one time, chop them up and release them, schedule them every Tuesday or whatever. And now you've got all your videos for the quarter, you know, ready to go.
Oh, and there are also attorneys out there who have written books, and, you know, they have 13, 14, 18, 20 chapters on how to handle different practice areas or different types of cases. Start there too. You can break all those chapters up and one by one, just make videos about that. It's content that's sitting right on the shelf. We don't have any questions, but if anybody does, they're more than welcome to reach out to us, or, you know, comment here and we can circle back. Yeah, we would love to hear what video ideas you guys have out there that, you know, we haven't talked about in today's podcast, but we're always looking for more things to share with other lawyers. So if you have anything, feel free to send it our way and we can push it out to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. And another thing too, before we hop off here, we talked a lot about making these videos specifically for a client, but also other attorneys are interested in this stuff too. Going back to those videos we talked about of you kind of sharing these stories about what had happened in this case and maybe some unique things you had to go through and maybe that you never have before. I think other attorneys would find that really interesting. Just like, wow, you know, in case they had come up on this in the future or wherever it may be, but just know that, you know, not just clients are going to be watching your stuff, that maybe other attorneys are too, getting ideas from each other. I think that's what.
And for referrals, that's a super good point, Josh, because if maybe an attorney who's a little green has this case, it fell into their lap, but they're a little too intimidated to handle it on their own. And if they find you and the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable and say, it was scary, I had to figure this out, this is a challenge I faced, this is how I overcame it, instead of being just some know-it-all. It's like, oh, I did this and this, you know, that could be the difference between, that could humanize you just enough that that green attorney chooses you to refer the case to or to co-counsel with over somebody else, because maybe other people just seem a little too intimidating.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. Cool. Well, we will see you guys next week for another episode of Maximum Storytelling our new Maximum Storytelling podcast. It's always a tongue twister.
You need a blooper reel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, don't erase your blooper reels. You can put them all together, and it's so funny. We're gonna dig out some old blooper reels and show them eventually in a future episode.
Stuff. All right, recompose, go again. All right, messed up.
And it's okay to swear, because you can just bleep it out and put the characters over your mouth, and it's pretty funny. They're really funny.
More video ideas.
Thanks so much, Josh, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
All right, we'll see you then.
Bye.